Hey Hofstra fans, welcome to the WB Mason Coaches Report here on GoHofstra.com. My name is Kevin Dexter, joined alongside, as always, by the head coach of the Hofstra Pride women's basketball team, Krista Kilburn-Steveskey. Coach, thanks so much for the time. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Kevin.
Coach, how are your holidays? Get anything good over the holidays? Enjoy the break?
I did. My wonderful husband got me Broadway show tickets to see Memphis, so yeah, it was a very nice holiday season, and spent a lot of time with my family. We came up from Georgia, so it was a lot of downtime for a few days we had, and it was really special, so that was nice.
Well, you only had one game this past week, a game against a very tough opponent in Princeton last Thursday. You end up falling 74-69, and a hard-fought game back and forth. Before we look at the game a little bit closer, overall impressions, I mean, it's putting the loss, I guess, in perspective.
Yeah, you know, it took a few days. It was just harder to swallow because we have just had some good statement wins this year, and you knew we were capable of playing a little bit better than we did. And I think, you know, there's a lot of games you have your best foot forward that, you know, you play your best and someone might be a little bit better than you. And, you know, they caused us obviously not to play as well, but we also just mentally we're just a little flat in that game, like right from the tip. And I think that's probably where you just, you know, you get those opportunities and you gotta find a way to win, whether it's help from the bench and things like that. So I think that was just, you know, why we wish we just had our best foot completely forward and, you know, to be able to come out and play them as well as we could. And, you know, we just didn't.
Early on in the first half, Shantae Evans gets into foul trouble, picks up 2 fouls, has to sit out for most of the first half, and that's something that the players we've been talking about after the game, just her not being on the court, not being able to see her down the post, kind of threw off the offense for a little bit. Is that, how do you prepare for that going forward?
You can't, and you know, it's happened, but not as often this year, and it doesn't need to happen, you know, as often. But even like from the initial tip, you know, our spacing and just things that, you know, you can see obviously as a coach that, you know, works with this team every day and for 6 years here, but you know that. You know, we're just pushing too hard, you know, possibly trying a little bit too hard. And, you know, that's one thing great about my group. They work really hard. So sometimes, you know, you just want them to calm down a little bit. But yeah, with Tate, so then you had that kind of going on already in your head a little bit, and then a couple more adversity things hit. And I thought Nicole Caperso obviously stepped up, you know, like a gamer and really, you know, helped us. And like she was it in the first half. And, you know, that's happened often. And we've won games like that before where, you know, Nicole's held the fort down for us, and then we were able to, you know, get everybody back in line, and we just ran out of time. You know, the sense of urgency came too late.
When you just brought up Nicole Caperso, 16 of your team's 28 points in the first half. She had been struggling the last couple of games shooting. Is this the kind of game she needed to get herself on the right foot?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not one to meet with them too many times. You know, I probably did a lot of that in my earlier years with them, but I certainly did call her in and just talked a little bit about, you know, how great, you know, Nicole is and how great she can be. And I was happy for her to turn around and have a game like that, you know, to get her head back right and, you know, to really do the things that you're capable of controlling, and the shot will come. You know, that's kind of what I've always said all the time. I can't agonize too much over, as long as the shot selection is the right shot selection that we need. You know, you just got to focus on what you can control. You need to be better on defense. You need to, you know, do the hardest part that you need to do when you're an offensive player. Don't get so consumed. Find another way to contribute to your team. So I just felt like she kind of went in there with that mindset, and then obviously she was shooting the ball lights out, and you know, that's what the team needed in that first half, and she gave it to us.
And you look at the second half of that game, a lot of times your team got the score down to deficit of 2, deficit of 3, a couple times in Princeton punch back. What was it that just allowed you to not get over that?
Yeah, you know, it was like getting the right stops at the right time. You know, then there was that moment we'd get it down below 10, like, you know, like you were saying, whether it was 3, it was 5, you know, and then boom, 2 seconds, it was right back up to 10 margin again. And mark of a good team for them to answer when they need to answer. And then it was turnovers too. It was like really bad transition offense. You know, you get an opportunity to get it right there within striking margin, and then, you know, turn it over. And then get an offensive rebound, and then a second opportunity. You know, the boards were like 38, 37, or 38, 35, where it just wasn't a good margin for us. We won the battle of boards by a couple. We should have been in the 40s. So that hurt. And you know, stats like you know, their point guard having 10 rebounds. You know, and then their post player off the bench coming in having 10 points. You know, it's like we did a good job on those that we needed to do a good job on, and then their support players, you know, really contributed. And that's, again, that's a mark of an NCAA team, which I think Princeton will be.
I have to ask you about the sequence down the stretch in that game, too. You guys get it down within 3.
Yeah.
Candace Balakio with a steal on Princeton's point
Right.
guard, gets it off to Shantae Evans. We rarely see her miss the layup at all, and then has an open layup. What was going through your mind down the stretch there?
I know, no timeouts left, too. You know, really interesting game with me. I always have lots of timeouts, but, I mean, we were so flat in the first half, you know, trying to find it. Worked at Marist, you know, I called a couple early timeouts in that game, and it got us back on track. And, you know, crazy. You know, Candace makes a great pick. You know, gets that ball to Tay, and she was coming like a locomotive and didn't jump stop, and it's just crazy. I mean, it was point blank, and, you know, we didn't say much about it in film. We watched it a few times in film, you know, just a culmination of everything together from film. But, you know, you had an opportunity. When you got a season opportunity, that's what the game's about. But even like step before that, too, you know, Candace Bond gets just a very interesting charge call. You know, when she leaves the ground, you got to have room to come back down. That was brutal. That was a brutal change of momentum there. There was a lot of interesting things under that 3 minutes of that game that, you know, just didn't fall our way. And, you know, in some of the games that fell our way, obviously, you know, against Marist. And but yeah, it was good defense down that stretch too. And we didn't capitalize on their 24 turnovers either. You know, they scored 28 points against our mishaps, and we might have been at 12 or 10. Probably even less than that, but you know, we need to capitalize on that.
Well, you finish out after the Princeton game 9-3, 8-3 in non-conference play, with the one win, of course, to Georgia State in your outlier CAA game. Sitting there in non-conference play with that record, you happy with where the team is right now? Is this where you expected them to be looking at the beginning of the season?
Well, I mean, certainly. I knew there were big games like K-State. I knew it was big games about going out to Gonzaga, and, you know, you knew those were going to be tough games that you were playing. St. John's at home, there was no gimme, and you know, even Seton Hall, I thought they'd been a little bit better, you know, than they were, and I think in the end, Ann Donovan's going to get that team going. But, you know, there's a lot of big games on our schedule, so I think, you know, the one loss to Hartford was a bit of a struggle as well too to kind of swallow, because, you know, we didn't bring our A game, and we just thought we were going to end up winning that game, and then you know, and then Princeton. So I think, you know, you can't take anything back. It is where it is, and it's hopefully 3 NCAA teams that beat us, and that's what I'm praying for. And I know Hartford has had a tough loss to Albany too. I mean, they need to do well, so then we can have maybe an opportunity to get an at-large if need be, you know, or win this tournament and have a complete, you know, bid. But a lot of games left, you know, 2.5, almost 3 months of basketball here that we've got to go and start on their conference. So certainly, you know, certainly happy. Always can be happier, but certainly put a big schedule in front of us, and I think we answered.
And how did you put the loss in perspective to your team after the game against Princeton, knowing that conference play is coming up, you're starting tomorrow?
Yeah, that was actually the first thing I said to them. You know, I think they were already there, you know, because we worked so hard in this non-conference not to let one slip-up affect, you know, a trickle-down effect. And I think that, you know, we practiced well. You know, and that's all I can do is measure from that right now. But that was actually the first statement I said about your mental psyche and let's move. I mean, you played against a good team, probably one of the best defensive teams. I mean, you know, they don't get a lot of credit for that, about how they, you know, they piece you apart, you know, piece you a mill. They knew they played us really well defensively. So, but yeah, so I felt like they were already there. They had already, you know, the leaders on the team had already had a discussion about that, and, you know, and they just been backing it. We're just ready to play.
All right, well, Coach, looking ahead, this week you have 2 conference games, your second and third CAA games of the season. First up tomorrow at home against the Drexel team. Pick middle in the pack in the CAA, but they do have a lot of talented players on that team. Camille Nasakaite coming back there, leading scorer. Also, Holly Mershon is having a big season for Drexel. Give us a little bit of a scouting report on the Dragons.
Well, I mean, I was reading their strength of schedule today. I think it was still 25, and you know, I think they're on the cusp of still being top 100. I think it's a little bit, you know, I think we have 6 teams in our leagues in top 100, but you know, again, always a battle with us defensively, how they do a lot of different, you know, techniques and strategies against us every year, and, you know, played a close one here last year. It was under 2 minutes, you know, to you know, secure that one. But, you know, I think in conference, like, you know, we play a lot of non-conference game, light conference, where you're just not going to walk out and, you know, but we certainly have a lot of revenge factor, and we want to play better against them. We want to start this conference off really well, and I can kind of feel that vibe within the team right now. So it's important because it's our next game. Every one of these games are important now, one at a time. And, you know, first road trip, a long one, heading down to William & Mary, you know, always a factor going in there. And, you know, so we just got to take it one day at a time here and be ready. You know, I feel like set the tone of what our non-conference schedule has done to prepare us, and then now we need to, stay on that track.
And getting into the CAA schedule, it's your 6th year here now. But
Yeah.
Does it make it any easier to have the Thursday, Sunday turnarounds and the quick turnarounds to kind of prepare for these games now that you've had this, been here for a while?
I like it better than the Friday, Sunday that we tried years ago. But no, it's never easy, and it's never, in our conference too, as deep as we are, and night after night after night, well-coached teams, no one's gonna, you're not gonna come into somebody's house and they're not prepared. So, but my coaching staff does a great job with the scouts and, getting us prepared. We work on things that we know that's coming up, and in situationals and things. So, we're ready to get started. I'm excited. I think the team's excited, and it's a different time around campus here with no one around. So we're going to generate our own buzz here a little bit with the students not being here. But we're ready to get into this thing and start separating from the pack.
Well, Coach, what does your team have to execute best this week in the games against Drexel at home Thursday, at William & Mary on Sunday to pick up 2 more conference wins, move to 3-0 in conference play?
Yeah, we need to, obviously we score a lot of our points in transition. So, we've worked all week, making better decisions. You can't create every environment in practice. So, the things that people are throwing at us, be able to handle it a little bit better, be able to see, head up and see, what the defense is presenting itself. Everything that we've been faced with, all these teams we've seen before, and Drexel and William & Mary are going to be similar in a lot of their strategies as Central Connecticut, as Marist, as Hartford, as Princeton, and and I think we're seeing what people are doing, and there's still so many ways to tear it apart, and that's where we just got to continue to play smarter. And I think that's been the buzzword all year, is like, make it simple, keep it simple. And it's gonna come play together, get it back up in that 18 to 20 assist margin, sharing that basketball. So it's been a big, and we're always a defensive focused team. We definitely switched that this year, but this week was getting ourselves back in our offensive execution. So I think that's just going to be a key, owning those boards so we can get out and run, and then just playing together as a team. So, and getting Shantae the ball. We get it to her, and we got to just keep getting it to her different ways.
All right, well, you got Drexel coming up at home on Thursday, at William & Mary on Sunday. Coach, good luck. Thanks so much for the time.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
And thank you for tuning in to the WB Mason Coaches Report here on GoHofstra.com.